here's some history. We talked a little earlier today about at the Finance Committee meeting. What are we doing this for across the county? And interestingly, why are over 3/4 of the districts signing on? And the second bullet really spells it out numbers-wise, but the first bullet is paramount. Taylor School District and Wayne County districts, we're committed to making sure we have the funds needed for all of our students to be successful. And we fully believe this will help us bridge that gap. One of the things that's recently come up statewide, it's getting quite a bit of discussion, is an adequacy study. And if any of you have heard of the adequacy study, what that study shows is that the bare minimum funding recommended for any public school student in Michigan is $8,667. Minimum. That should be the floor. Well, this district, our per pupil funding is $7,997. It's a pretty significant difference. So if you take a look at about that $600+ gap times the number of kids we have, those are not insignificant funds. It's over $4 million. So, that's just the bare minimum of what the adequacy study recommended. And then if you look at what happened in 2011 to 15, of course, you see an overall funding decrease of $485 million. And these things have been handled at district levels by any number of the following in the third bullet, whether it's been salary reduction, whether it's been a frozen salary, whether it's been layoffs, other cost-saving measures. Districts, and certainly we're one, have been struggling to provide those core programs, with the funds we receive, and to make sure we put that best educational platform forward for all of our students. A recent funding study, again, I think I've hit this bullet already with some figures, and in the bottom bullet, I can't really even see it there. Kim, what's it say on the screen? Right, okay, so this is intended to bridge that gap. Thank you. Next, please. So how will the money be used? Countywide, the bullets on the right really just give us kind of a starting point. And these are things that internally the cabinet's talked about, that Mary Ann and I, as two new administrators here to the district, have talked about with our teachers group, our support staff, our building principals, the board, and obviously all of these are critical. We have repairs that need to be made. We have parking lots that need to be repaved, roofs, boilers, windows and door security, energy efficiency with respect to low E windows, and some HVAC upgrades, class size reductions, making sure we have the high quality teachers in front of kids that we need, and then of course new school buses. We do have an aging fleet, and especially with the roads, the wear and tear on the buses is a concern as well. Next. So a couple other important factors just to think about. A federal study shows that in Michigan, our funding level, since adjusted for inflation, has come down 7.5% since '08. So that's the reduction statewide in per pupil funding. I know sometimes you hear at times a great increase to per pupil funds. And oftentimes what isn't as publicized is when there's an increase, there's a takeaway. And so sometimes, even though the per pupil funding goes up by $60 or $120 as it did this year, there was a kind of a range of increase. Sometimes you lose best practices funds, and so the net that you get is actually a net loss. So when you break that down since '08 across the state, it's 7.5%. Different other studies conclude that our school finance system does create difficulties for districts to provide that optimum program for the students. And then you take a look at the right side at some poverty rates. Percentage of students in poverty in the county, 43% versus 17% statewide. It's a pretty staggering number. It's one that is borne out as I've toured around and talked to Susan McCausland and met with building principals and others when we look at some of our free reduced lunch data. When we look at the number of kids that we support with coats and backpack programs, and thanks to all of the groups that do support us, but clearly we have some students and families in need and who need those supports. And again, from '99 to 2011, you can look at that poverty increase. That trend is up 21% to 38. It's been steadily growing. And then a number there, 20,000 up to 30,000 in 5 years for our ELL students. And so an ELL student is any student obviously who enrolls for whom English is not their first language. And so, of course, it's incumbent on the district to provide those extra supports to help those students attain mastery in English as fast as possible, so that then they can be getting caught up and staying current with their age mates in the classroom. Next. For additional information on the Wayne RESA Enhancement Millage, that is the website. They have established a countywide informative website just to share facts and figures. We are, due to elections law, restricted to factual information, so what I can do is share numbers, I can share trend data. There's a lot of things I can't say unless I'm off the clock and maybe on the weekend, so come find me. But I can't say it right now. So I will stick to the bullet points. Next slide, please. Switching gears, the second thing we'll have on the ballot this November, when I arrived, one of the people I met in the summer I met with Mayor Rick Soller. And of course, Rick, Mayor Soller is no stranger to Taylor Public Schools. As a graduate of Taylor Public Schools, a resident here, our mayor, he knows full well what school funding is currently and what adequacy studies show. And so he and I had a conversation in which he said, we have a unique opportunity. We have a City of Taylor bond that expires this year. It's an old operational bond. It's a .96 mil. Is that something you want to take advantage of? And of course I said yes. And so I worked with the mayor's office and Cindy Bauer to essentially rebrand this expiring bond as the Taylor School District School Improvement Bond. And so the reason it's a unique mill levy, typically you levy a 1.0 or a 2.0 or a 1.5, but I wanted to make sure that I levied or attempted to levy with this proposal a exact same mill rate as the expiring bond, so that when you look at the net impact for a resident of the City of Taylor, if this were to pass, the tax rate remains the same. And so as this one City of Taylor operational bond, or millage, falls off the books, if this passes at the same mill rate, again, it's a net zero. So no increase, no decrease. Again, what would this generate? This would pull in $1.19 million a year. It's a 5-year proposal. And again, much like the enhancement millage, looking at those critical issues, those instructional issues, those instructional technology issues, the issues that we hear about with respect to roofs and boilers and efficiency and busing and transportation. So Kim, if you'll advance please, the next slide shows the actual proof ballot language. So the 3 bullets are really what it says. Acquiring, installing technology equipment and other tech infrastructure in school buildings and other facilities, remodeling, equipping, furnishing school buildings, other facilities, preparing, developing, improving sites at athletic fields and other facilities, and then the purchase of buses. Now, one caveat to that second bullet, don't misread athletic fields to think we're putting in turf. The reason it has to read athletic fields in working with the ballot preparer and our attorney is if we're doing improvements at the athletic fields, like bleacher repair, like parking lot resurfacing, then you have to actually name that area, otherwise you cannot expend funds in that area. So the intent would not be, to put in a brand new turf field. The intent would be to improve those ADA accessible, those handicap requirements, as well as to take care of parking lot needs, egress, entrances, all those things that go along with a well-maintained facility for the district. So that's my presentation on the 2. We will be working internally to have at the district level some additional messaging coming out. Let me just give a big thank you. Kathy stepped out, as did Terry, but I've met with Linda from TFT. I've met with Kathy from 26M. Both groups have pledged financial support to the district because we, of course, need some funds with which to market, and we're restricted from using school funds. And so a big thanks to all the members in TFT and 26M for helping support this initiative. Ads have already been run in the paper, so I met with Terry earlier in the most recent paper, there's a couple of ads on 2 different spots that talk about this and are beginning to put the message out. And so really appreciate their efforts, and much like Jamie, they've got a lot of contacts and people that I can get to know and can reach out to as well. So if over the next few weeks any of the board members come by my office looking for me and I'm not in there, I'm probably out and about. So just call myself. But thank you again. That was probably my longest superintendent update yet, but I appreciate your time.